first thing we need to learn how to do is how to open a file. Luckily, Python makes this really easy for us. If we know where that file is, or specifically in this case, if that file is in the same directory as our Python script, it's just a simple open command. So we have the open function, and when we open a file, we provide two pieces of information as arguments. We provide the name of the file as a string, or the path to the file. The path is basically directions to where that file lives on your computer. Now, if that file is in the same folder or directory as my Python script, all I have to do is give it the file name, and it will find it just fine. So I give it the file name as a string, and then I give it another string that is called a flag. And that flag tells Python what we're going to do with that file. That's important because you cannot read and write to a file at the same time. Those have to be completely separate operations. So when we open a file, we have to tell it by giving it one of these letters if we are going to read the file, append to the file, write to the file, or create a file. So each one of these has different rules or capabilities that it can give you. Read allows you to get the information from that file, but you can't do anything to that file. You can't change it, you can't write to it, you can't overwrite it, you can't add to it, none of that can happen. So when I read, it is literally only reading from that file. When I open a file for appending, append, anytime you think of append, think of like a diary or a journal, right? When I have a diary or a journal, I open it up each day. I turn to the next blank page and I write a little bit. And it gets added to what's already there. So that's how append works. Append adds to what's already in the file. So it doesn't touch anything or change anything that's there already, but it does add to it. So now each one of these things also handles it differently if the file doesn't exist. If I try and read a file and that file doesn't exist, I'll get an error. If I open a file for appending and it doesn't exist, it will create the file and then open it up for writing. If I write a file and it doesn't exist, I will get an error. If it does exist, I will actually, if it doesn't exist, I won't get an error. If it doesn't exist, it will create it. If it does exist, it's going to overwrite what's there. So if I choose append, it will add to what's there. If I choose write, it's going to replace what's there. So no matter what's there, if that file exists already, it's going to overwrite it with write. Create is a little bit different. Create is a way to write to a file, but if the file exists already, it won't overwrite it. It'll give you an error. It'll say, can't do that. That file already exists. So if you want to be very careful and not overwrite something that already exists, then you will use create. It's a little safety net for you. Most commonly, we use read and write. Most of the time. But those other ones, append and create, are there for you as well. So when I want to read from a file, I have a few, once I open the file for reading, I have a few different ways to do this, okay? I can say myfile.read with nothing in the parentheses, with no arguments. If I do that, it will take everything that's in that file, all the text, and put it into the str file text variable. I'll take the whole file and put it in. So read with no arguments takes the whole file. If I give it a numeric argument or an integer, it will read, in this case, the first 10 characters of that file. Now, I can do something interesting with this. If I do 10 characters of that file, let's say that file has 30 characters in it. If I do that 10 characters, and then a little bit later with that same file object, my file, if I read it again, it'll get the next 10 characters. So it keeps track of where it's at. It's called a pointer. It keeps a pointer that keeps track of where we're at in that file in terms of reading that file. So I could read that file 10 characters at a time if I wanted to. The other thing I can do is read line. And what that does is it reads one line of a file at a time. And again, it keeps a pointer that keeps track of which line it's on. So as long as that file, that my file object is open, I can keep track of what I've read, and I can read that file one character at a time, one line at a time, 10 characters at a time, or I could read the whole file at once, just depending on what's in that file and what I want to do with it.